I will be going by and checking and seeing your questions later. Fingers crossed that I got it right. So yesterday what we did is we basically made an infused maple syrup, which I am calling gingerbread syrup, for your coffee, tea, pancake, or just milk steamer pleasure. So I thought I'd kind of continue on with the whole drink thing this week. So what we're going to do is we are going to use brown sugar today and water, because I talked about that yesterday. So what you can do if you don't like brown sugar, or you're just not, that's too refined a sugar for you, you could use maple syrup, and I'll tell you how we do that along the way. If you don't do any kind of refined sugar at all and maple syrup is too far refined for you, you could also do this with a date syrup. So we're going to make Cinnamon Dolce Syrup. And so that's kind of Starbucks' fancy way of saying, this is a cool, expensive coffee syrup you should pay me for. Yay! Hey, Sophie! It did work. So it is good to see you. So I see that some people have come on late. So I am still using Restream, which is new to me. So I'm trying to figure all this out so it goes live to a bunch of places at the same time. But today what we're going to make is a coffee or tea syrup. It really could go either way. And you could still use this on pancakes or drizzle it on poached pears or apples. So it's mostly a really intense cinnamon syrup made with brown sugar. So the Cinnamon Dolce that you get at Starbucks does have this. So I'm just using some organic dark brown sugar, and we're going to use a half a cup. So you probably already know this. Hi, I don't see your name, but a Facebook user, but I am appreciative of you being here. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. So I'm going to take a half a cup of brown sugar. And so what I'm doing to not mess up my hands is I'm actually pressing it in so that you can see how it's pressed in there? So regular sugar isn't measured that way, but this sugar is because it's moist. So see how it's still going to stick together. So that's another reason there's a couple of ways you want to store brown sugar. And see, this doesn't even close very well. So I actually have it in another sealable bag or container. Another thing you can do is they have these little things called brown sugar savers. And they look like little mini terracotta things. Sometimes they're cats or bears or pumpkins or something cute. And you pop that in there, and what it does is it keeps the moisture in there. So it's the opposite of what we're trying to do when we put those little dry packets in with our spices. We want those to stay dry, but when brown sugar gets dry, it's like a rock. So it's a little bit hard. Like it's really hard, I guess is a better way to put it. So what we're going to do, and I wanted to just show you, and I'm going to put about 1 cup of water in. I brought some extra water over here in case I change my mind or if I heat it too long because I'm talking to you. So I'm going to put this on about medium heat. And I'm also going to throw in, and see how this dissolves pretty quickly. It's not even really hot yet. It's not completely dissolved, but it's already, like if this was regular sugar, it would take a lot longer. And you could do white sugar with this. I'm going to go ahead and throw in a couple. I'm going to do like 3. I'm going to go, yeah, there's a big one. I'm going to put in some cinnamon sticks, about 3 or 4. And then while this is cooking, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the different kinds of cinnamon. Hi, Sherry. It's good to see you, and Jackie. And I'm sorry for the 3 people it says Facebook user. I don't know which group that's coming from, but I send you much love and virtual hugs. And someone was super sweet. You said I was awesome at presenting. Thank you. I needed a little boost of confidence today. Do you guys ever have those days where you're just kind of feeling a little meh? I was feeling like that, and then it's kind of my day's turning around already, so I feel good about that. And hi, Patricia. And Yeah, my transmission may freeze. I'm actually plugged directly into my router, which is the best I can do for the house. Certain times of the day, it just goes in and out. So we're actually on a higher level of internet, and I'm plugged into the router. So I apologize. If it gets too choppy, you can always watch the replay later and just fast forward through some of those. But I wish there was something else I could do at this point. And I said hey to Sherry, hey Joanne. Okay, awesome. Oh wow. Okay, there's a whole bunch of y'all here now. So let me recap. I guess first off, I'm Kathy Hester. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making Cinnamon Dolce Syrup, which is syrup that you usually get at Starbucks. Yesterday I did a live where I made gingerbread syrup with maple syrup. So it's really an infused maple syrup, but it makes such an amazing coffee or tea syrup. It's good on pancakes. That was yesterday. Today we're making Cinnamon Dolce Syrup. We're making it, in here I have half a cup of brown sugar and 1 cup of water, and then I have 3 cinnamon sticks. Yeah, one's just sinking to the bottom. And so what we're going to do is cook this for probably about 5 or 10 minutes, and I've got a few things I can chat with you about. Hi Marilyn. And so that gives you an idea. So we're cooking this on about medium heat. And what we want to do, I'm going to try push it a little bit, see if we can infuse this. So one of the things that you can do, if you don't do brown sugar, if that is not your thing, you could use maple syrup or you could use date syrup instead. And I would probably use a cup if you were using a liquid syrup instead. But right now we're doing a half a cup of brown sugar with 1 cup of water. We're just basically making a simple syrup. If you wanted it sweeter, you could add a whole cup. If you want it, I'm trying to think, if you wanted to mix up the flavor and not have it as strong brown sugar. So brown sugar has just a bare hint of molasses flavor. So it doesn't give you that darkness that regular molasses would, but it does give you a very different flavor than if you're just using white sugar alone. And yes, Joanne, I can read your comments today. I'm very excited. I learned stuff by watching things on YouTube. I'm so fancy. Oh, thank you, Pam. I got this sweater at the bin store. So some of you know that in the past few months we've been going to this like warehouse with this, it's like Amazon returns. So, but thank you. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I'm trying to see. Oh, good. I'm glad you like all the tips because I love telling people tips. That's one of my favorite things to do. And so you can kind of see what's going on. So I'm going to smell. Oh, you guys. Okay. I feel like I should do like this. Can you smell it? Can you smell it in your imagination? So it definitely gets a little bit of the darker flavor. Instead of it just being a white sugar syrup, the brown sugar does add a definite flavor and more base notes to this. The cinnamon, well, it's like cinnamon season. Doesn't cinnamon season start in September and go to like February? Or is that just my house? So I'm gonna, oh, you know what I need to do? Let me go do this really quick. I didn't turn on the fan today because I didn't need it yesterday. So I have a little fan back here behind the scenes where I'm sort of taking you. And it's hooked onto a tripod. There we go. If that should, yeah. Now you can see again. So I probably can turn this down a little bit. Because I'm not really trying to make it that much thicker, though it's up to you. You can make it thicker, and you can make it thicker by evaporating some of the liquid, or like I said, we could put a whole other half cup of brown sugar in here. You're just going to adjust it to your own taste. Hi, Byrony. That is a cool name, and I love that you're from the UK. When the world changes again, I'm going to go visit. I want to see all the Harry Potter things. And if that makes, I am a big old geek. You guys already know that too. I know, Joanne, I see you on YouTube. I can see who's on YouTube and Facebook. Oh, this is great. And hi, Apple, who says, thank you for live streaming on YouTube too. I'm not on Facebook, so this is a real treat. Well, now that I can see your comments, it's a real treat for me too. I'm still kind of learning some of this whole broadcasting to multiple things, but that is part of my Vlogmas goal. So there's some vloggers and actually some real technical people that I love, like Doc Rock and Diana Gladley, have started doing a thing where they're going to go live every day in December, and it's called Vlogmas. And so I'm participating. So I figured, I go live all the time, so just going live isn't a real challenge, but going ahead and adding some extra layers of tech and programs. So that is why I'm restreaming, and I can only assume I will figure it out more, and I will be doing this after Vlogmas. So I'm glad it helps you out. I know a lot of people aren't enjoying being on Facebook as much as they used to. I'll just let you check in again. So, and we can go ahead and make this more syrupy, again, by either reducing the liquid, like letting, every time these little bubbles are happening and the steam is happening, that means some water is going out of that mixture up into the air. Brandy says, my eyes can smell. Yes, they can. So while this is simmering, I'm going to turn it down really to a proper simmer. And you want to cook it for about 5 to 10 minutes, because what we're doing is we're trying to get the cinnamon to infuse into our liquid simple syrup mixture. I think you can still call it simple syrup if it has brown sugar. And if Jenny's watching, she can tell us all. But I wanted to spend a minute and talk about a couple of different kinds of cinnamon. Because cinnamon sticks are really great, and two great places to get them, and I'll show you these packages. So that if you can usually get this brand. So this is a Hispanic brand that you can usually find in regular grocery stores around here. And some people have said they found cinnamons to be different. And this is the cinnamon sticks that I get at the Indian market. Both places, usually spices and herbs are cheaper than lots of other places. And you can still order this stuff online too. And I think I may need to use the overhead camera. And Joanne says she understands the tip thing. She loves telling people tips too. I know, and I love Joanne's tips. So hopefully you can see a couple of things different. One is, yes, this one is bigger than this one, but that is not what I really want you to see. I want you to notice, see, this one is hard. And it's like very thick. And you can see from here. So see how thick that is? That's probably an 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just guessing. It could be anything. But see how this is very, very, very thin. Well, one of the things about it being very, very thin, and that can be awesome for infusing things. And actually, I have one that's already kind of crumbling. So this was a big one like that. And so what happens, I'll put my hand over because I don't want to, see how easy it breaks? Okay, it would help if I was not in the way, wouldn't it? So you can make it into these little chips. And you can keep going even further than that. And what that does is it exposes more of the liquid to the cinnamon and helps it infuse a little bit stronger and quicker. And I'm going to put that into my chai, which is a spiced tea. And so I like doing that in the chai because I really want to get that extra flavor in there. And I'm going to strain everything anyhow. And so we could do that here. And in fact, I'm sure I have some cinnamon dust from breaking that above that. Or we can just strain through here. I'm trying to take the easy way out today. And I think I might just make it. So because we use the hard cinnamon sticks in there, I really could just pick them out and put them to the side. You could also rinse off these cinnamon sticks, and if you're going to serve a really nice drink with this, you could just save them for like that day. Like if I did it now, maybe in the evening we could still have it, and just decorate your actual cinnamon dolce coffee or tea with it. Oh, yay! I'm so glad that you're catching me live too. Okay, so we will do some more complicated things later, I promise. And I think I broke some cinnamon stuff in here too. How did I get cinnamon stuff everywhere? Do you guys know? Because I don't know. And basically, I just keep leaning over and smelling. You can also, once this has been simmering for about 5 to 10 minutes, you can set it aside and just let it steep. So think of it like you're steeping tea, or an herbal tea especially. I actually will steep for 10-15 minutes to really get that in. So when I do chai in the Instant Pot or on the stove, I do the same thing. I heat it up, but I leave everything but the tea in there. I just leave, you know, the cinnamon, the allspice, the whatever else things that I'm using, cardamom and things like that, and let that really keep infusing. And that's really up to you. Yesterday when I made the gingerbread syrup, I was really shocked, honestly, at how quick the ginger and the spices really infused in there yesterday. And so I'm probably going to take a little taste now and just see how it's tasting. And this is going to be really easy to tell. Oh, okay, somebody just tuned in. Let's start again. So what we're making today is we're making cinnamon dolce coffee, tea, pancake, pear, whatever syrup. So we're using 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of water, and 3 cinnamon sticks. And we're simmering it for about 5 to 10 minutes. Some of the other options, don't do that kind of refined sugar. You could just use 1 cup of maple syrup and put the cinnamon sticks in that way. You will be missing out on, like Cinnamon Dolce Syrup from Starbucks has a really strong brown sugar flavor. So you could try putting a little bit of molasses in, but it's not going to be a 1-for-1, just so you know. If you don't do any kind of refined sugar, you could use date syrup. Or you could, you can make your own date syrup, and maybe that's something we should do during drink week. I'll think about that. So that's what we're making. And it's probably been cooking for about, I don't know, has it been cooking for 5 or 10 minutes yet? And I started off on a higher heat just because I'm impatient. And I'm going to taste this. You can definitely taste that brown sugar. It's really, really tasty. I think it could use a little more cinnamon time. So actually I'm going to put the heat up a little bit more too. So I think with this syrup today, I am going to pull it off the heat and then just let it sit until it cools so that it can infuse a little more cinnamon flavor in. So a question I always get when I'm making any kind of spice syrups is, couldn't I just use ground cinnamon? You sort of can, and I sort of would rather you not. But if you're in the middle of a snowstorm, you're at home by yourself, you could take your cup of coffee and put some brown sugar and some ground cinnamon in there, and you could come pretty close to doing this. So yes, you can. But what happens is those spices are never going to dissolve, even if you put it in a spice grinder and just grind it forever. So it's going to be gritty. So the benefit of making a syrup over doing that is just the texture is smoother and more beautiful, and I think that you're able to have a consistency over several servings that's really important too. So that's what we're doing. Let's try again. Yeah, it's starting to get in there. I think, and I'll show you too. Let me move this out of the way. And for those of you who just came in, we talked about the two of the kinds. There are a bazillion kinds of cinnamon. So this I got at the Indian market. This I got at the Hispanic market. And again, you can see this one's thick, and this one is crumbly. It's very, very thin. It's not a good or bad situation. It's just they're different. So this is really, if I had put this in, it would be infused faster because I would crumble it up. And you can see in here at the bottom, I think you'll be able to see this. Can you see? There you go. At the very bottom, see how there's pieces? So that would let me just do it faster. But I would need to strain it through a fine mesh strainer. With this, and let me get this is probably the easiest way. You could use a spoon or something. But honestly, now all I have to do, and see, did you guys notice this was full of liquid? So I don't want to pull this out and just sling it around. I want to pull it up. Here, I'll get another one and show you. I want to pull this up. And let's see, can you guys see how much liquid just came out the bottom? I want to do that and then put it to the side. So my reason for using butter sticks, and can you guys see that too? See how much comes out? So make sure you don't want to be slinging. I'm going to turn this off because we don't really need to heat anymore. We just need it to keep steeping. So I'll move it to my little hot pad. Okay. And I've got some questions. And Joanne says that's doing a lot of freezing. I know. Yesterday the stream did really weird too, so it's just how many people are on the internet on our pipeline, which makes me very sad since I'm doing lives every day. But I apologize, and I wish there was something else I could do. Do you guys have any questions? And maybe I should talk a minute about how to use the syrup. So, and I'm going to do some drinks later on in the week. So I've got this one, and I have a gingerbread syrup. So you could do something just as simply as make a cup of tea and add a teaspoon or however much it takes to make you happy. If you drizzle it, great. If you want to use a tablespoon, it's all about what you want. So with my cold brew coffee, and I talked about how I made the cold brew coffee yesterday too, is I take that, I mixed in probably a tablespoon of the gingerbread syrup. You could use the Cinnamon Dolce Syrup. And then I've cold frothed some barista oat milk and put on top. And we'll probably do one of those so I can show you how to make that. I do use a special piece of equipment to do that, so you may or may not be as interested as you think you are. But there's some other alternatives. You could also just simply take maybe some almond milk, a teaspoon to a tablespoon, your sweetness preference, heat it all up and have like a little steamer. And that's a great warming dessert during the winter, and so I enjoy that. You could also do some poached apples or pears. Either the gingerbread syrup or the cinnamon dolce would be awesome in that. And some people in their cinnamon dolce will go ahead and put a little bit of vanilla extract. To me, that takes away from it. I don't taste that when I get that syrup from Starbucks, so that's why I don't add it. But if you prefer it or you just enjoy it, it's your syrup. You should do what you want. But you can do things like the ice creamless milkshakes that I make. You can drizzle this in there so you can turn oats, this, and some ice into a milkshake or a frappuccino. There's a lot of good reasons to have a couple of flavored syrups. The main reason I started making the gingerbread syrup is we got some gingerbread flavored decaf coffee, which I was super stoked about, and it really tastes like much. So I wanted to make the gingerbread syrup to kind of go and up it. I keep wanting to find really good decaf flavored coffees, which are hard to do now that I don't do caffeine. But honestly, the bottom line is a syrup does a much better job because we can really, really make this very intense, and we're using natural flavors and no artificial flavors mixed in, which makes me happy. And evidently Cheryl's gotten on. She said there's some kind of weird buffering thing going on, and it happened yesterday too. So what I may do, either tonight I'll try it or tomorrow, I'm wondering if Restream is aggravating a buffering issue. And I hate, because I really want to find a way to go live on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. But if I do that experiment tomorrow, I'll try and pick something I can make twice. And I'll make it on YouTube Live and I'll make it on Facebook Live at the same time. Oh, and Joanne says she puts ground spices and herbs in a reusable cloth tea bag, and that's a good idea. If it's tiny enough, like you couldn't use a regular mesh ball because things would go through with some of the, if you're using ground cinnamon. And it's, again, it's a preference. And if you don't mind it being a little bit gritty, who am I to say that you should make my syrup instead, right? I do like having it just kind of made up so that I can go, hey, Cheryl, add some of that syrup to my coffee. I'm trying to teach her how to use the frother. So on my Vitamix, I have something called an air disc. And so it's another pitcher. Instead of the blade that swings around, it has this disc that actually infuses air. So it would make whipped cream. It's not so great with whipped cream for vegan stuff. It makes frothy milk. It can extract the stuff out of your citrus. It's good for drinks. It is not a necessary appliance, but if you find yourself spending $15 to $20 a week at Starbucks getting like those cold foam drinks, this will hook you up for $75 or $100 to have it for the rest of your life. So through the pandemic, we weren't going to Starbucks and we were making fancy coffee drinks all the time. So having syrups, and I'm trying to train Cheryl on how to do the frothy, and I'll demo that too soon. Do you guys have any other questions for me? I'll let you see the syrup again, and I'll taste it one more time since it's been sitting here. And the sugar dissolves very fast, and I'm just using kind of a pan that holds heat for a while, so that makes it even better for it to infuse. Oh yeah, so from the last time I tasted that, which might have been 5 minutes ago, till now, it's probably doubled in the amount of cinnamon that I taste in the syrup. So I'm going to let it go even a little bit further because I'm like that. If you were on like a time budget, you could add extra cinnamon sticks in there, but I like to use them sparingly since basically after this, unless you dry them properly, they're kind of spent. That's why I'm also encouraging you to use them as fancy decorations in your drinks. And I see some more people have come on, so I'll just briefly go one more time.